Hey, it's Paul Mayer here with ToolMetrix. I'm out here in the shop today. We're going to take a look at the new lathe from Laguna. It's called the Revo 1836, and we've spent a lot of time with this machine, putting it through its paces. We've turned about 30 bowls, a handful of spindles, and a number of other projects as well. So really our initial impressions, lots of heft, power, precision, and a lot of thoughtful innovation throughout the machine. So really an impressive design, and I'm just going to share the findings with you. But before we do that, just kind of want to cover off on some of the specifications for you. I know you can find this on the Laguna website, but just thought I would kind of hit the high points here. So for bowl turners, you've got capacity with the standard configuration to do 18-inch bowls. For spindle turners, you can go up to 36 inches with the standard configuration. If you add the optional bed extension to it, like I have installed here, now you extend your bowls up to 32 inches in capacity, which is a massive bowl, and now out to 56 inches of spindle. So lots of capacity for the most serious wood turners. The unit is powered by a 2 horsepower, 220 volt, 3-phase motor. That's important for a couple reasons. I'll get into some of the details and what that brings to the user in a bit. But suffice it to say that that's going to give you plenty of power to handle the capacity that this machine delivers and really give you good quality and a good turning experience. The 1836 gives you 2 speed ranges. Low range mainly for bowl turning is going to be in the 50 to 1300 RPM range. And for spindle turning, you may turn it up to high range, which will take you from 135 RPM all the way up to a screaming 3500 RPM, which is again going to be mainly for spindle work. And that should be plenty of speed for most wood turners. And then within that speed range, within each of those speed ranges, you have at a turn of a dial infinitely variable speed within that. So you can dial it to the exact speed that you're looking for any turning operation. From the architecture standpoint, the bed on the 1836 is made of high quality polished steel construction rather than probably a more common cast iron, which is cheaper to manufacture. But we like steel here for a couple reasons. One is it's going to bring more strength to that overall design, more structural integrity. And secondly, it's going to give you just going to maintain its rigidity and straightness over time better than a cast iron, which is more susceptible to distortion over its years of use. Again, really a polished steel makes the banjo travel really nicely. And just overall makes the machine really a joy to use. Now with a machine this size, you're going to want a substantial base because it allows you to turn large projects which are going to want to vibrate things a bit. So the heavy base really keeps things stabilized and absorbs that vibration. The 1836 has a pair of massive legs. So these are just under 80 pounds a piece. They're cast iron, which is a great material for absorbing vibration. And so it really does wonders to help keep things nice and stabilized. So that's kind of what's on the spec sheet. Next, I want to kind of walk through our observations of some of the key features on the machine and what that's going to do for your turning. All right, when we take a look at the key features on the lathe, the first thing that draws my attention is the control panel. Really nice angle that it sits at, so I can see it very easily from any turning position. I like the anodized aluminum panel, which is durable, nice backplate. Large format button and knob design for power and speed control. And I really like the large digital display that tells me the exact RPM that the machine is running at. So if I need to make an adjustment, I can just reach over and dial it to that exact RPM. And it really makes things easy in that respect. Now on the control panel, you'll also notice a forward and reverse switch. So why would I have a forward and reverse switch on a lathe? Well, it really comes into play when you're sanding, primarily for me, and that allows me to put it in reverse, get the lathe spinning in the other direction, and now I can sand on top of the workpiece safely, where I can see what I'm doing, and at the same time I can direct the sanding dust stream right down the gullet of the dust collection system behind the lathe, giving you great dust capture efficiency and just better breathable air as you're turning. From an operational standpoint, the thing that really impresses me most about this machine, and I can't stress it enough, is the power and the refinement in that old power delivery system. The machine uses a variable frequency drive, or VFD, to convert single-phase power that you're plugging into to three-phase power that the motor requires. And the ability to do that is what makes the variable speed possible, that infinite variable speed. Because what it does is three-phase allows the motor to run optimally at any speed along that spectrum, versus a traditional single-phase motor, which is optimized to run at one speed, and if you try to slow it down or speed it up, it's going to run inefficiently. So the way that they accommodate that with other lathes, traditional design, is to use step pulleys to speed the motor up or speed the spindle up or down while the motor continues at one speed. With this motor, it actually turns the speed of the motor down, so you're delivering exactly the power that's needed for any particular speed, and it does that smoothly and optimally, so you're going to have a great turning experience at whatever speed that you're operating at. Another standout feature in that power management system is the ability to sense resistance and accommodate that with an additional burst of power as needed. So this really comes into play in bowl turning for me. So when I'm roughing out a large bowl and I'm leaning on it and taking a heavy cut and shaping the bowl, then what I find is that in a traditional lathe design, it really bogs that down and sometimes even stalls it out. And I have to kind of back off and wait for the lathe to kind of catch up a little bit. With the 1836, it senses that resistance, and in real time, it provides an additional burst of power that keeps it spinning at that constant RPM. So it allows me to finish my project more quickly, but it also brings a quality element to it because it allows me to have a constant cut pressure along the cut, giving me just a better cut quality throughout. So you'll notice that right away when you use this machine. Now I do most of my turning probably in a 250 RPM as I'm roughing out a large bowl, up to probably 1200 RPM. So for me, most of my turning can be done in that low speed range. But for spindle turning, you'll occasionally want to go faster than that. Some turners like to operate faster than that a lot. So switching into that high range is a very straightforward process. And I can show it to you in real time here. All you're going to do is essentially unlock the machine, open up, take the tension off, move the belt over, give it a spin, make sure you're well aligned, close it up, lock it down, and now you're ready to go in the other speed range. So just really an efficient design overall for changing speeds, and then the infinite variable speed in each of those ranges. Really the bottom line is you're going to be able to turn at exactly the speed that you want for any turning operation on any project. There was never, in the 30 or so projects that we've turned on this lathe so far, at no point in any of those projects did we wish that we had the ability to run at a different speed. So it was exactly the speed you want at any time that you want it. So while we're at the headstock, before we move on, let me point out one additional, kind of a subtle feature, but one that really impressed me in the thoughtfulness of this. And that's the cone-shaped design of the headstock. So with a lot of lathes, I find myself, when I'm working on the bottom of a bowl, kind of fighting around the corner of the headstock and having a hard time shaping all the way through the bottom of that bowl project. With the 1836, it kind of thoughtfully extends the workpiece out away from the headstock, so you have really easy reach and access to the bottom of that bowl without fighting around a sharp corner on a headstock. So just another kind of thoughtful design element to the machine. Now, regardless of what kind of turning you're doing, you're going to spend a lot of time at the banjo and tool rest. So let's talk about that next. It's really, I feel that it's one of the most important aspects of a lathe to get right. And I give kudos for Laguna. I really think they put a lot of thoughtfulness into this design. A couple of key points. So one, the tool rest. For a stock tool rest in a lathe in this price range, it's really, I can't imagine a better one out there. So cast iron in the body of that tool rest tipped with a 6 millimeter piece of spring steel. And what that does for you is it's a nice rounded surface, so it's a nice base to glide your tools across, and because it's this hard spring steel, it won't ding and mar over time, so you'll always have this nice smooth operating surface as you're turning your project. So great standard tool rest. The banjo is a really heavy duty cast iron, glides really nicely for easy positioning on this polished steel bed. You jockey it around the bowl really easily during the course of a project, so I really like that. Locks into place solidly. All of the locking mechanisms, levers on this machine have this large format handle with the cushy design. And it's just a nice creature comfort as you're doing a lot of manipulation of these elements in a turning project. I also, one last detail I'd point out in here is this, the locking mechanism for the post itself. So this is a unique design in that it applies even pressure around the whole circumference of the post. So it locks it in more solidly than the typical design, which puts a pin through there and holds it in place with a pin locking mechanism, which is going to mar that post over time. So I really like that. It holds that post rigid over the most kind of rigorous turning operations, where on a lot of lathes I've seen where a bit of turning pressure on that will twist it. And this is, once that's locked into place, that baby is just going to stay solid throughout the turning project. So let's now take a look at the tailstock on the machine. So this tailstock is super massive, heavy duty, cast iron body. Again, unlocks easily, glides easily across the steel bed, locks into place solidly. I like a couple aspects of this that are really stand out. So first, the live center for a machine in this class. I mean, this is really comparable to an aftermarket kind of high-end live center. Good, solid, large format, great silky smooth bearing in there, locks your project in solidly during the turning operation. One thing that really stood out to me also was the quill on this machine extends out 4.5 inches. Now that's a lot of travel. The thing I like about that, again, for turning bowls in particular, rather than having this way up close to the tailstock, it extends it out, and so now as I'm turning, I'm able to access the bowl more easily, and I'm not fighting my way around the tailstock. One final detail that I'd point out on here that I think is just kind of thoughtful is the laser etching on the quill will remain visible over the life of the machine versus a painted detail that might wear off over time. So just, again, a lot of thoughtfulness into the design. These are kind of the standard capabilities of the machine. Next, I'll take a look at some of the options that I have here on the machine. And I don't have all the options available, but I'll walk through a few of them that I have that I think are definitely worth noting. The 1836 comes very nicely equipped with a standard package, but there are a few options that I have here that I think are worth noting. There are also more that I've noticed since I brought this machine into the shop that they've added, and I'll take a look at a later date. But for now, there are three that I want to cover here that I have installed on the machine. The first, and I think this one is a no-brainer, these halogen lights that have a triple jointed arm, so really easy to position them, get them in place. And the halogen is just a really nice quality lighting. It really lights up and gives you great visibility into the detail of your project. So once you have this kind of lighting on a tool, you're going to love it. And I would really strongly encourage you to take a look at these as an option for the machine. The next one that I'd take a look at is the bed extension. So for bowl turners, again, this gives you another 14 inches of capacity. So if you're really into turning large bowls, this is a good way to go. Spindle turning, this takes you up to 56 inches of capacity. So the first thing that I did after I installed this was to take a 4x4, cut it into a 56-inch length. Just wanted to see how the machine would perform on a full-size spindle at the full capacity of the machine. And it really did a great job. I was impressed by the vibration-free turning experience that I had with that, even on such a long extended spindle without any additional support mechanism in between. So really chatter-free on a large format spindle, pretty neat. The other feature that I would point out, or option that I would point out that I have installed on this machine, is the mobile base. So this is, I'm a big fan of mobile bases. I like the ability to move my machines around the shop and pull them out when I need them. So a machine like this, I want to have it out when I'm turning, and so I have access all the way around the machine, but when I'm building furniture, I'll put it back up against the wall and pull it back out when I need it. So this, and I have all my big machines mobile, but this is by far the nicest mobile base in the shop. These large urethane wheels make it glide so easily around the shop. The heavy-duty frame can really just handle a machine of this mass with no problem. As massive as this machine is, I can roll it around my shop really easily, and just here I'm moving it with one finger, and it's just really glides nicely. So it's just a great add-on to consider for particularly if you have a modest workspace. So to net this out for you, we're super impressed with the new Laguna Revo 1836 lathe. It's a standout from our perspective on a number of fronts, bringing a lot of capacity for large turning projects, plenty of raw power and refinement at a price point that I believe makes it a great contender for any wood turner who wants to take their craft to the next level. So thanks for watching this. Enjoy your wood turning, and if you're in the market for the lathe upgrade, we would recommend that you take a look at the Laguna Revo 1836.